basically, we are not on YouTube or anything. This is one of our work study meetings because we do have one or two, or maybe three issues here that probably should be discussed before we go and vote on them. Clerk, would you call the roll? Excusing, we are not on YouTube or anything. This is one of
Trustee Frazier excused, absent and excused. Trustee Boyden.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Martin. Let's see.
I talked to him an hour ago. I thought he was on his way.
Treasury Bud.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
President Supervisor.
Here.
Yeah, we can.
Thank you. All right, we have no closed session. We have no unfinished business. We're gonna get right into new business. And the first item is discussion on a first reading of an ordinance, which would be an amendment of chapter 74, streets, sidewalks, other places, basically sidewalks. Director Howard. Oh, yes, Director Lockett, too.
Thank you, board. Maybe Director Luckett can kick it off and then I'll get into this.
We're here tonight for the first reading of ordinance 3-1522, the approval of the amendment of chapter 7, streets, sidewalks, and public places, article 2, sidewalk to amend section 74-56. This amendment will allow the township to have the ability and the flexibility to manage a sidewalk program. I do believe this will be the first in township history. So it's going to be unique, somewhat challenging, but we are for it.
So just to build on what Director Luckett said, it's the township currently has a ordinance in the general code of ordinances that allows the township to enforce the maintenance of sidewalks, but there's not much detail regarding how that's done, or and also not the apparatus currently in place to administer a sidewalk program based on the language we currently have. So what this set of ordinance amendments does is permits the township to develop specific rules for sidewalk replacement. For example, when the flag has to be replaced, which the flag is basically a 4x4 or 5x5 square of concrete. Having contractors that do the replacement, having the work inspected by the township engineer, inspecting certain zones within the township annually for replacement, etc. So amending the ordinance and adopting the corresponding rules will allow the residents to have more understanding of why the replacement work is done. And this gives the township again the authority to administer sidewalk replacement programs and move those programs around the township as the board sees fit. You can try to answer any questions. The township attorney helped to draft this language too, so we can reach out to her for clarification as well.
I'll just ask one question. So this sidewalk, the sidewalk ordinance as amended is going to allow us to effectively run a sidewalk program which we are slated to begin in Aggie Sub this summer.
Yes.
Director Bud, do you have a question?
Right, the length of time, I think 5 years is too long. It's got to be shortened up. I go 3, but I won't go 5.
What would be the average payment that you make? Just a guesstimate. I know everyone's lot is different, but on average,
Well, through the chair, it basically depends on how many flags you have to have in place on your property. And then that'll be broken up over 3 years. I'm gonna say between
Yes,
$1,000 and $1,600.
like a year. per
I
year.
just did, but the worst ones have 8, 10 of them that have to be done at $400. But the majority of them are just 2 to 4 of these sections that have to be taken out. From my walking.
Right, and some of them won't consist of actual replacement, there may be some leveling involved. There could be some removal.
And what have we done, Treasurer, maybe you can help me remember? I know in prior programs, we had streets replaced. What was the time frame on those assessments?
Some of them were 2, some of them were 3, and we did have a couple 5.
Do you think this would place a hardship on any of those homeowners in that subdivision if we were in fact to go 3?
I don't think so, because I think most of them are gonna pay up or get it done themselves.
Okay.
And I think 5 years to tie up that kind of money is too long for
I agree.
something like that.
I agree.
So I got a question. So we changing the ordinance. Is this specifically for agri sub, or this gonna be something that we can do in any sub?
Before it is, we will basically develop a program throughout the township and do sections of the township and identify, notify residents. So they'll have the ability to, one, to repair themselves. And we'll give them a time frame to do those repairs. And if not, then we'll have contracts.
Okay, so you basically gonna do the same thing that the association is kind of doing. So we sent out a notice letter. So if someone need to have the sidewalk replaced, or if there's trip hazard or whatever. And they have the option of, it depends on whether they need to be totally replaced, like you said, a flag is like a section. Whether they need to be replaced or they need to be leveled up and not replaced. But it's, from my experience, the leveling is about the same as replacing it. That's what we're experiencing, because what reason I'm asking, because we're in the process of trying to, to do that this spring in the subdivision. So we got about 75 lots that need sidewalks, either replaced, flags that need to be replaced or leveled. And we had a contract come out and give us a overall quote. But we didn't have anything in our bylaws that states that we can force the homeowner to do it. We have to, we couldn't pay for it and have them and bill them because it's not in our bylaws. So we had to send others out to do it in the notification, violation of the covenant. And give them a time frame to fix. So what I'm wondering is, well, it sounds like you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna give them a notice to fix, and that if they don't, then you're gonna come out and fix, and then you're gonna do them, and you'll bill them over a period of time, you give them time to pay for it.
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, would it be worth my time to let it go through that process, or continue to do what we were planning to do? I don't know. That was one of the things, because we never had this in place before. It's a good thing, but it's very cost effective for the homeowners association.
Yes, it is. We just did it.
Yeah,
ourselves.
so,
Our HOA just completed the sidewalk here.
I know,
Last fall.
yeah. I knew there's something we was contemplating. If I could do it a different way. I don't know. I have to assess it and see which way is best. Probably since we've started already, we probably just go ahead and finish it.
I have a question. I'm sorry. Along those lines, for the HOA, where I am, we're a little different. How will this, kind of got 2 questions. How will this affect an area where there are no sidewalks now, but there, per the plan, supposed to be sidewalks.
Well, this program is the maintenance of existing sidewalks. That
Okay,
could be something we could look at. See if we can cover it under this program. But this program specifically is for maintenance and repair to ensure that the general public have safe sidewalks.
okay. Now for the next question. For the areas where we have sidewalks and if there is a need for either repair or replacement work to be done, for my HOA, the work is to be done by the homeowners association, not by the individual lot owner, okay? How is it set up? Would the HOA do the work and seek reimbursement? Or is it tandem working together type of thing? How is that supposed to work out? You see where I'm going?
I see where
You
you're going.
know, I'm not trying to freeload off of anyone, but how do we work that out?
Well, I think that's probably the same way Clerk White is. It's probably in your bylaws and your homeowners association.
It is.
Then I would say you go through that route. Then seek reimbursement from the residents.
Seek reimbursement from the residents or from the township, if that's appropriate. I don't,
Oh, I'm listening.
So,
One second, Dr. Power, you know the answer to this, right?
I think if I get it right, currently we don't have an ordinance to fix sidewalks. So we're gonna amend the ordinance to fix the sidewalk. So the ones, if the homeowners don't fix it, now we can go out. We can put them on, give them a notice
now,
and fix them.
okay.
Or we'll come in and fix it.
Okay.
But that's probably gonna be more expensive
Okay.
than collaborating with your homeowners and getting it done all together. So we're planning on doing it, getting a vendor and, giving them a collaboration price if everybody do it together. We have like 75 lots.
Okay.
My plan is to have a vendor come in and do all on at one time. And that way give them a cheaper price. The way they're talking about it, they're gonna have a vendor come out and do her, him, and it could be all over the place.
well, I identified, in that area sub 716 parcels in that subdivision. Our first round was gonna be 298. They'll go around, inspect and mark up all the bad sidewalks. Identify those, you will notify the homeowners that your sidewalks, your property has been identified as replacement under this program. You have, what is it, 60 days, to have the work done
Right.
from the date of the notice. And then after that 60 days expired, we'll come in.
Whatever, when the township get involved, now you gotta do engineering and all this stuff,
Absolutely.
which raises the price of engineering that already been done. You can get a vendor come out and say, hey, I need these 2 squares replaced. They're gonna break it up and replace the 2 squares. They're not gonna call an engineer.
That is absolutely correct, but I will remind this board that you guys voted to pick up the engineering costs on this. Which although we have
I remember,
really cut those back a lot. They're still out there.
I got it. I mean, it's still gonna be the HOA responsibility to take care of the government bylaws. So this is just, Aggie don't have an association, so.
So when you said 60 days to have the work completed, so we ran into a problem getting the contractor to commit to a certain date we'll be lenient, right? Because we're still in a COVID and work shortage, community environment. I think we need some leeway here that we're not gonna be fining people if they have it on the schedule and it's ready to go in a few months, but it's past the 60-day mark.
I'll answer that. Okay. We will give them ample opportunity, whether it's 60 or 90 days, to make sure that they can do it. But there's going to be a drop dead date when we're going to be putting it out to contract, because when, I can't tell a guy you're gonna do, 100 slabs and only give him 50. So. Any other questions? This first reading for today, if you guys don't mind, we're keeping on the menu for tonight. All right, next item is Deputy Supervisor Solomon, discussion of multi-departmental budgetary amendments. If you guys remember last year, we had an extremely aggressive capital improvement program. Due to COVID though, we had a heck of a time doing them all, so we need to roll over.
Thank you, Supervisor. So, as Supervisor stated, yes, we had a aggressive plan with CIP and other projects and renovations. There's also some unanticipated expenses. There's some supply chain issues for delivery of materials that got pushed into this year's budget. There was an unanticipated expense such as the flooded rate program, that wasn't planned to be coming out of this year's budget, but the opportunity came up and the board decided to fit that it was good to discontinue that program. That had to be expensed out of the fire's budget. The communications area, there was $20,000 that was not expensed from 21 for several factors. One of them was a delivery issue with some product that was ordered that came into this year's budget. And there was also some staff turnover, which there was a lot of money that was programmed into our purchase orders that was discontinued at the end because it was better to have the new staff working with equipment that they were comfortable with, what they were going to be operating. So it's better to move those funds, not just order something just because it was in the program. We want to order something that was going to be necessary. So for those, and there's other reasons too, which you'll see in your packet for all the different budget amendments. One is in the general fund that is broken out, and the other one is the water sewer fund that is broken out. And we have our different directors here for you to be able to answer anything that you might want more clarification on.
Okay, because there's really not that many, I would like you to go through them singly. You can begin with the, and you can answer these questions. I don't need the directors to come up unless the board wants them. But let's begin with building and planning. Accents are so bad. I assume that that's a demolition program.
Yeah, that is a demolition program, and President, as you were noticed by Director Power, Wayne County and their CDBG program is going to be used to demo a lot of properties. But Wayne County is kind of discontinued that being allowable expense for CDBG. So for us to continue that demo program, and we were noticed by our consultant, Vidya, with McKenna, that we run one of the most successful demo programs of flooded properties. So for us to continue that program as is, and they needed an extra $25,000 to keep it up with the service they've been delivering with handling flooded properties.
And in theory, we get that back. We put a lien on the property. When the property sells, we in theory get our money back. Unfortunately, Wayne County now says that we have to give the money back to them, which is the money we were rolling over to keep our demo program going. So we need to put some more money in the pot to keep the pot rolling.
Right. So that was my understanding that yes, that would be, we're still able to place liens on those properties that are using the program as it's been ran.
Clerk?
With the clerk already at the table, I'll let him, he's gonna be able to speak more intelligently about his budget amendments to me.
Well,
I believe it was a $5,000 amendment to the, because we had to replace monitors that wasn't put into the capital outlay expense line.
okay.
Hold on. So is it 7,000 or 7,500 or 5,000?
5,000, our budget was 7,500 already, but that's the amount that we pay every 3 years into the program that we have to, put our data, store our data.
And forgive me for not knowing this, what's a city works license?
Okay, CityWorks is actually changing the way we do business here in Van Buren Township. 5 years ago, we came here and we tried to do a capital improvement program to identify all the assets in the sewers and in the drains and in the buildings and the air handlers. We found, and then we were going to download that into a computer and set up a schedule to maintain them. Turned out they hadn't been fixed up in 10, 20 years. So we went on a crazy spree of fixing them out for the last 4 years, fixed them out fire stations, police stations, bought new fire trucks. We're now doing a capital improvement program. 5 years ago, we tried to make it so that you could actually say somebody, a DPS worker comes in the morning. He picks up his phone and his phone says, okay, order 140 filters and replace all the filters in the air handling units. It'll come right up on the screen. It'll be automated. It's automated now. We are becoming automated. Everything we have here, if you order a cemetery, we just did this with Brittany and the clerk today. If they order a cemetery plot, immediately a voucher goes out to the worker in the DPS. He goes and verifies it. He goes and digs the hole. He gets it ready. The treasurer gets, the billing goes out and it's going to end up with the treasurers. The guy goes out and does it. He has an app. He downloads that he worked 4 hours on that hole. The map on the cemetery automatically updates that we've got an active or zero, whoever. And it all happens like that. 5 years ago, when we started doing this, we were so far behind that we couldn't do that. We can now. 5 years ago, people have been doing it for 5 years. But with CityWorks and GIS, we probably, people that were 10 years ahead of us, they're probably a year or two ahead of us now. We've really caught up.
That is going to bring us in, it's bringing us into the 21st century, but in regard to cemetery. And I have to give kudos to my interim deputy, who's did a lot of work working with Joel and the guy from CityWorks, along with Hugo and Director Luckett, putting this together. The problem we had prior, which was what I was afraid of, that we had knowledge, but it was what I call manual knowledge. We had people actually walking around here that knew where the graves were buried, where the body was buried.
They did.
But these people are going to be retiring. And you believe it or not, we actually had someone that we didn't know whether somebody was in that plot. They had a stick. I forget what they call it. I think it's,
Most texts like a methane gas.
yeah, like they stick it down into that lot, and if they hit something, it's a grave there. But that's how we determined whether it was a grave there or not, because we wasn't up to date.
We didn't know what
Now-
we had.
You can actually go on CityWorks, and it's impressive when you see it. You can go in there and it'll show you not only is there a grave in the cemetery, but who's buried there, what is the name, and what lots available, and like you said, it goes to the phone on the app. Someone comes in and buy their lot, we put the work order in, it goes to the DPS worker, they go out and they put their time in, how much time they spent digging the grave or whatever.
Like there, we're still going through training.
But it's something that we wanted in the clerk's office for a while, and Kevin said, yeah, well, let's do it. And we're basically done.
And what we did with you, we did with a lot of the other departments. So that's CityWorks.
So yeah, it's great. It's a great program.
Magnifier, I can't see.
So if you continue on in the building and grounds, other budget, there's a CIP plan from Plant Moran Crescent that was presented to the board at the end of last year to get an asset management program for our bonding rating that we were going out for. And that was presented with a task force for them to start going through all the different assets in the township and different properties and get that into a system to be able to go out for professional bonding, upgrade. And that program was $62,000 for their first major asset management that they would be presenting to us. And that would decide to go out of Ward Other, which was an expense that needed to be going forward for it to be able to purchase that.
And just to make sure you understand that we were downgraded on our bond last time because we had no capital improvement.
And then the next area within capital outlay, those are true rollover expenses. Each of those different areas that are marked out. DPW, the pole barn, the cable offices, IT room, records room, the employee patio, benches for the employee patio, downspouts in the police department, DPW lighting, room signage, the connector project at the BAM, Belleville Area Museum and landscaping. Those all total to be $270,000. Those are just true rollover expenses from fiscal year 2021. And the fire that was already mentioned previously about the blended rate program needing to be expensed out of on-call firefighter wages that discontinue that program. That will be budgeted for in this year's budget as that was a 2-year expense line item. In police, to get our LPR program started this year, or I'm sorry, in 2021, Block needed a purchase order set up. And when we went through that program, we knew that they were going to finish in early 2022. So there was an opportunity of possibly expensing it out of the 21 budget, but it became necessary to just roll that over into 2022. So that's another true rollover expense that just didn't get paid out of the 21 budget. Same issue with dispatch. This was properly, this was budgeted for, but there was just some monitors in the dispatch that wasn't included in the Motorola capital improvement project in dispatch for their upgrade over there. And I also talked a little bit about communications of the need that was rolled over from 21 into the 22 budget. And another page you'll see a little bit bigger is in the water and sewers budget. And that's something that I would turn over to Director Soms. You'll see much more bigger ticket things if there were questions on the projects that were.
Director Soms, could you come up?
budget.
You're more than welcome to stay up there.
No, you're this is you.
You're all done tonight. Well. Yeah, what questions do you have?
Could you go over line item by line item?
Go ahead. Most of these funds are rolled funds, right? So we can start there because the number was a little scary. But we'll start at the top. F-150 base model truck. With everything else, the price from last year, it's up about $13,000.
We already proved that, didn't we?
Yeah, these are all approved.
Yeah.
budget items.
Yeah, it's just that we didn't have the money in the line item when we approved them.
No,
So
the
now we're
truck
gonna-
went up.
It went up.
It went up in cost.
Last year was 24,000, with everything else, the prices have increased. We don't even know if we'll be able to get that truck. Yeah, they'll let me know this month, they need to get it. So that's another conversation. Denton Road water line, that was 350,000, that was another calendar year where the project was completed, it was rolled funds, we need that back. We'll skip Hagerty Road for now, same with Beck Road, same concept, it wasn't completed, we're still in the process of completing that. Hagerty Road is a little different animal, as you know, there's a road project coming up, potential, and we want to upgrade the water line. So we cannot meet fire flow demands with that actual capital expansion at 2,500 gallons per minute. So basically it needs to increase from a 12-inch to a 16-inch for development. That's budgeted roughly 2.5 million. We're hoping 2.3, but
Okay, and one last question, just so that everybody understands. These numbers have already been calculated in for your prices, for your costs. So there's no future, there's no big bump. These things should have happened last year, so why you got zero.
we have the funds for the 2.5 million. We did not want to budget that, and the project not happen. So we're fairly confident it's going to take place. So we want to go forward.
CCTV inspection, that's up a little bit, from 75 to 93. And the lift station, unfortunately, increased in price as well. Again, we're hoping for 250,000. Bidding climate's very volatile right now, so everyone's afraid, so numbers are inflated,
Wow.
to be quite honest.
Sorry, Mr. Martin?
So the Saggerty Road fire line, when did we know that we had to replace that? Ashley Capital's been there for a while now. So when did we realize that was a big-
I'll ask Director Power to step in here. This is a little before my time. It's a 1963 asbestos cement water line. Best practices, whenever you're gonna do a road project, you have a water line from 1960, and it's asbestos cement, it's good practice to replace it. In terms of when did we realize that, I can't really answer that, to be honest with you. I don't know when Ashley Capital came into the picture and had demands.
Yeah.
Please.
Chair, I can try to step in. So thank you, Board. The Ashley Capital project is a part of a bigger picture. There's one phase that's been under construction for a few years now. It's about 1.5 to 2 million square feet of logistics and manufacturing space. There's a planned expansion of up to a total of 3 to 4 million square feet in that whole mile stretch. At the same time that that's occurring, there's a road that's in pretty dire condition. I'll speak about it a little bit later. But in recognizing the need to improve and potentially reconstruct the road to 3 lanes to serve the future development, we also took a look with the water department going back to fall of 2020 at the potential upsizing and replacement of the 12-inch water main, and that's that mile stretch. As Director Solomon said, that should really be done at the same time as the road project if it's going to be done soon. That is a 1963 pipe, asbestos cement, so it would make logical sense to replace that at the same time as the road replacement. But to answer your question, yes, the Ashley project has been under construction for years, but there's still a lot more potential future growth in that area. And the model for that growth call for some extra flow of water.
So did you know that during the planning stage of it, or? It's been in the ground for a couple of years now, so. I'm just wondering, when did you realize that it needs to be done? And if Haggerty Road, just say it need to be done, then what was the plan be?
Good question. The flow rate's really close. We're looking at just a couple hundred gallons per minute. So this is probably the tipping point, to be honest with you. It probably gets you by on a distribution. It would limit you to what you could allow into the development. Being that close, throwing the road project doesn't make sense on a development standpoint, a fire protection standpoint. Last thing you want to do is put a new road in and you're going to have to dig it out next year.
I guess the point I'm getting at is, we knew the scope of this Ashley Capital development when it first came to the township, probably 3 years or so ago. So based on that scope, we should have known that, hey, we didn't have the capability to provide that much water for fire protection. So I'm just wondering, why 3 years later now?
I'm not here to take up anyone, but these 2 gentlemen was nowhere around when this, how the Ashley Capital came in. I understand that. So, I mean, but I get what you're saying, something should have been triggered somewhere in the planning stage, but these 2.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question on that point? Just because it's a great question you got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say there's no Haggerty Road expansion. Do you have enough water line to maintain what's there?
No, I mean, no, depending on what development comes in there, you may not need a fire flow demand. It really limits your expansion capability. Not to mention it's a 1963 AC pipe. It's well past its life. So no, to answer your question, it needs upgraded on an engineering standpoint. But unfortunately, I can't answer your question. That was prior to my. Great question. It Should be answered.
This is saying, but yeah, it should have been looked at, but
One second, we have our fire chief here.
Board, I might have something that might help out with that, there's a kind of an underneath as well. When the building and the water, and the buildings along Haggard Road were put in, they were built in and designed for what was going into Haggard Road. Nobody knew what was gonna happen with a vacant piece of property down the road. What has happened since, as buildings have gone in, the buildings that are there, even the existing ones, the Van Born and Hagerty, the tenants have changed. And when the tenants changed, the code changed with it, requiring a different water flow and a different volume that we might not have known 3 years ago or been able to plan for. So the tenants changed, the water flow for those buildings have changed based off of who's in there. It's not anything that could have been predetermined with a vacant building. The occupancies have changed, and that has driven a lot of it.
Well, no, that makes sense. No,
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
I can wrap my head around it.
One other small point, I think there was a reference, when we started looking at this, it was late 2020. And then, as Director Psalm said, we didn't want to get too far ahead of the water main replacement without knowing if there was more conversation behind a road replacement. So the two projects could kind of dovetail. But when this was starting to be looked at, I think there's a reference to a previous water asset management plan that had water main replacement along Hagerty Road. They just got into more specifics for this stretch north of E-Course Road once this actually project started developing for.
It's part of the 20-year CIP. Their asset management plan.
We basically have a plan that's plans on spending $2 to $2.5 million a year. We didn't spend anything last year, so, but that's, I didn't know that you had to do that. I thought you were looking at a good time to replace it since the road was ripped up. I didn't know it had to be replaced.
It was on the critical section, part of the CIP. They just joined together.
All right, so this is for the board amendments. Are we all, that is all the board amendments. Does anybody have any questions? Any further questions on the board amendments? These are the amendments just to basically get us back to not seeing red on our computers all day long.
Any more questions regarding,
No.
appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. And then the last thing, probably the most unusual thing we've had in a while, is is it better? Since I'm the one flying have to do it anyway. So, as you all know, we've been trying to figure out how to get Van Buren Township, Hagerty Road done. Wayne County has come to us. Can't find my paper. You got that? Okay, how much time? We have enough time. So basically, Wayne County has come to us and made an offer. It is the board's position that they must accept the offer. Nobody else can accept that offer. It is an unusual offer. Long story short is I'm going to start this thing with having an overview of where we're at and what we're doing by Director Power, and then we're going to go into the ask or the offer. Go ahead, Director Power.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Board. As the Supervisor indicated, I'll just be talking about what this project is and how we got where we are. The Hagerty Road Reconstruction Project is a proposal to reconstruct a significant portion of the mile stretch of Hagerty Road between E-Course and Van Horn Roads. What you have now is mostly a 2-lane section of road in very bad shape. And what the proposal is to widen that to 3 lanes for the entire mile stretch, except where there will be sections that are actually widened out to 5 lanes. And I said a mile stretch, it's a little less than a mile. There's areas right near the intersections with E-Course and Van Horn that won't be touched because those have been recently reconstructed with concrete. But that's the basic scope, plus the addition of a signal roughly at the halfway point between Van Horn and E-Course Roads, which is the potential future location of a driveway for future development and kind of the logical breakpoint for traffic, for business traffic in that area. As mentioned, this is a road in critically dangerous disrepair. There's significant divots and bumps. It's a very rough road to drive on. And Wayne County is acknowledging that and starting to look at that in the broader picture of their road improvements. The last resurfacing was in 2002. And again, the improvements required reconstruction of the road fully with 3 lanes to include the center lane. Currently, based on Wayne County's rating system, the road is not scheduled for work until the year 2028. But we know the reality on the ground is if you've driven on the road, it calls for action much sooner. So again, this will be a 3-lane road between Van Born and Ecorse Road, with the traffic signal about halfway in between, which would control and distribute traffic logically through the road network. And then again, with some widening to 5 lanes closer to Van Born and Ecorse roads. As you just heard, the township is committing to upgrading the water main at the same time that this project commences. As the fire chief and the water and sewer director indicated, the business growth in the area will call for best development practices, will call for good enough fire flow and pressure to meet the needs of all the growing businesses in this area. There's an estimated roughly 1,500 jobs and 3 to 4 million square feet of logistics and distribution and manufacturing space that is planned for this area, based on the master plan and actually current development plans in place. And at this point, I'll turn the conversation over to the supervisor to talk about the funding aspect.
So take a look at this, this additional facts. I basically brought it right down to what they asked us. Wayne County is offering to move the Haggerty Road up its prioritization schedule. If you approve today, they'll start in the fall. If you approve in 2 weeks, they'll start next year, spring, summer. They are offering to do $5.7 million worth of work. Of that, $1.4 million approximately will be from Ashley Capital, and $4.3 million will be from Wayne County. 4.3 Wayne County, 1.4 Ashley Capital, for a total of $5.7 million. The offer, though, to Van Buren is being requested to cover any overages on this job up to 10%, which would be $578,000. At worst case, it could be 0, but the worst case would be 578. For that, we would get 3 lanes instead of 2 and a light. And I have taken a long time to think about this, and I know that I've talked to all of you guys. I think if I could get a 3rd lane on any road in Van Buren Township, it's a major road, it'd be well worth the $500,000. The light alone's worth $200,000-300,000. I would do this even at the worst case scenario at $578,000 myself personally. I don't want any more 2-lane roads. I saw what happened in Canton when they refused to pay up, and they got nothing but 2-lane roads. Look at I think Hagerty's still there. Cherry Hill's 2-lane most of the way. Sheldon Road, I think Lily's got a lot of 2-lane in it too. They now pay up and they get them widened, but I think we need to start now, because it's as every road comes up, I think we need to make sure we get a 3rd lane out of it. The bottom line is, that's my bottom line, is that I don't want to wait for this road. I don't think it's going to last. They do reevaluate roads every 2 or 3 years. So next year they may reevaluate Haggerty Road and move it up the list to 2025. But you're still talking 2 or 3 years out for this thing, unless you do this deal. My apologies, it came at you quick, but after 2 years, this is the first offer that was a hard offer. They will not move forward unless they have a resolution by the board that they will pick up the overage. So I'll open it up to discussion. Well, I guess I'll start. Okay.
looking at what is up on the board right now, I do not have a problem with the scope of work that needs to be done. In other words, putting in our water main that we need to put in, upgrading the water supply for the fire department. Certainly not against new pavement or 3 lanes or a traffic light in the center of the lane. Not against any of that. There's one point that I'm right now definitely against, and that is contributing any money toward property that's not ours. In other words, Hagerty Road is a county road. I really don't see the need for us to put up any money toward Hagerty Road. Looking on here, I see the contribution by Wayne County. I see the contribution by Ashley Capital at 4.3 and 1.4 million respectively. I know that there are a number of other businesses that will be impacted by this development or upgrade, if you will. I would like to see what their contributions will be. Maybe it will make up the $578,000 that they're looking at. But right now, I see no reason why we should contribute toward this at all. Not in that dollar amount. Ashley Capital owns the majority of the lots on the west side of Hagerty Road between Ecorse and Van Born. That's pretty significant. Not to mention the neighbors across the street, which, as has been expressed by our fire chief, they will also be impacted by this, or there has been a change, so they would also contribute to this as well. I just don't like $580,000 for or up to 10%.
And I have to respond to 2 of those things. One is, it is not unusual for us. No, it's not unusual for townships to. It's not unusual for Van Buren. Van Buren Township, the only roads that we have that are multiple lanes are Belleville Road and Ecorse Road, which received contributions from the DDA before they were expanded. We had to kind of contribute into those funds. And I did put this up there because I can't do what you wanted me to do. Could you go to the next slide that I actually had added? I can't, these are the people that would benefit from Hagerty Road expansion. I can't go to Denso International or Coca-Cola. It would take me years just to find out who the guy is to go to get the money. And these are big, huge corporations, US Signal.
Well, with Coca-Cola, I mean, and this is just the benefit of
Years to get to the right guy and negotiate that.
well, this is just the benefit of maybe me being on the board, or not me being on the board, but just the benefit of relationships outside of here. I'm a church member of one of the vice presidents for Coca-Cola, whom I have contact, and I asked him, who would we contact for this type of product? And he said, oh, God, since it's you give me what you need to have, I'll send it there, and I'll see to it that you get this product. Now, that's just a relationship that I have with Coca-Cola. I understand that, but I'm sure that someone here, the DDA, the assessor's office, your office, clerk's office, or treasurer's office, I'm sure that somewhere is listed the name of the people that we would contact to have them chime in on this. And even if it does not get on to the docket, if you will, with the county until next year, or if it gets done next year. Okay, it gets done next year, but I don't think we need to really put in for this now. I'm not saying kill the deal. I'm not saying that at all. No way, no shape, no fashion. But we need a little bit more time to investigate these things to see what we can come up with. Outside of all the great work that you've done, I'm not knocking you either, not knocking anybody, but we can take a couple more steps in this. But $580,000 right now at this moment, that's a tough pill to swallow, please.
I just want to add that we did look into a special assessment district over this. There are too many residential homes on that road, and they would be stuck with $10,000-$20,000 bills. We really can't do that.
Okay, that's the residential. That's
about 6, 7.
But yeah, I'm not talking about the residential.
All right, I have contacted an attorney who says that he doesn't think I can do this, but hopefully he'll give it to me in writing that I can do it. I've asked about doing exactly what you just said. Can I drop a SAD district on a area and exempt certain lots?
Residential from businesses.
He said, I don't think you can do that, but I will have an answer the next day or two. But I really don't think you're gonna do that.
I'd be surprised if you could exempt anybody, but I'm gonna speak on this because I ran into this problem several times in dealing with the HOA and then the subdivision. I know farms develop, and we have a great HOA, but the roads are county roads. And I've been living there for 28 years, going on 28 years. They have never been kept up by Wayne County. Now, we would have waited for Wayne County to come in and keep up the road. We wouldn't have streets in our subdivision area. We all crumble and crack and just deteriorate. We have something that we're doing now in coalition with Wayne County, the 20% match. Well, we have to put in 20%. I have homeowners that think the same as you are, what you guys are saying right now, that we should be paying for Wayne County owned roads. But if we don't, they won't be good. Your cars won't have anything, you'll be complaining more because of the roads that your car is driving on. I don't like the fact that we're gonna pay $33,000 right now to fix the area now, 3 areas in our subdivision that's owned by Wayne County. I expressed that to Director Luckett and Powers. They know my disappointment with that. I don't believe we should be doing it, but we're gonna do it because I know if we don't do it, it won't get fixed. Now, I think that we also, you guys mentioned that we're the stewards of the township. We're the board members. We have an obligation to make decisions that sometimes are hard decisions. We're fortunate that we're a township that we can afford to do what we're contemplating. And we could be in a situation where we just couldn't do it, and that the road would deteriorate. Now, I talked to Al Harris, he's right, it's on the dock to be replaced in 2028. That getting any earlier, this is about 98 to 2. If it get done in 2028, that's just my experience with Wayne County. Wayne County is not gonna fix our road. They never have. You see what's happening with the southern part of Hagerty from Tyler to the freeway. Okay, but my thing, what I'm expressing is I think even though it's a hard pill to swallow, it's our responsibility to take care of the residents. And we have residents on the road, we have residents traveling the road to get point A to B. And if we have opportunity to do what we need to do to fix it, and we have the opportunity and we have the monies to do it, I think we need to bite the bullet and do it. But we have the opportunity.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Joe, in the past, we've had meetings and residents have come to the township and they complain about the road. This road, this needs fixed, this road needs this fixed. And the board response always at our county road. county road. Except the county, don't pay the county. They do cover it. Wayne County Roads Division is responsible for the maintenance of approximately 1,440 county primary and local roadways and 462 miles of state trunk lines and freeways. It is the mission of the Roads Division to protect and extend the useful life of the roads. Roads is the main trunk road. I just can't believe that they would not pay that road for 2028. That's irresponsible on their part. I don't believe that.
No, I agree, I agree 100% with what you're saying. I do.
Don't get me wrong, I do want the road to be paved. I think it needs to be paved. The road was horrible. I drove it a couple weeks ago, and I could not believe they can do it. On the same token, we told residents in the past that this is not under our purview. And I don't know why we are changing that now. I think that if they really want to pave the road, they will come up with money for it over. So the $578,000, that's 10% of the entire project. That's a lot of money to be over. What the county needs to do is make sure that their mechanisms in place that these projects get done on time within their budget. I can't agree with them.
Well, Kevin, you just went over, I'm telling you, I agree with everything you say in concept, but the only reason I said that we need to do this is because of the fact that we only have to put in 10% of $5,728.
What about?
No, what I'm saying we had an opportunity to get it done, though. The reason why we told other homeowners that we couldn't do it because we couldn't afford to fork up $5 million to fix it.
I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm voicing my opinion on why.
Trustee Miller.
Yeah, I came in here tonight and I have an open mind, and I wanted to hear what each and every one of you have said. No one's disputing that this road needs to be done. But given that, I'm gonna go back to Clerk Wright's comment about how the HOA has to take care of the roads even though it's county owned. I don't think that's a real fair comparison to this project. You have homes, there's no businesses in an HOA subdivision, but here you have many businesses in an HOA subdivision. So to ask us, the township, to pay over $500,000, and it's not going to be just $572,000, folks. It's going to be much more than that.
But we're only up to, anything over that, we're trying to say Michigan.
Well, my point is, we shouldn't have to pick up any of this. It's their road. And I feel like I have to ask the question, well, why would they come to us and ask us for such a high overage to begin with? And say, well, if you don't take us up on this, we're going to go ahead and push the project out a few years. Well, are they gonna have the money in a few years suddenly for this?
They're doing this because we're driving them crazy and we want 3 lanes.
Let's keep driving.
Let's keep driving them crazy.
Why not put pressure on them to get down the road the way it should be done? How did this
They
come
will
about
do-
that
They
Can I
will do the road
finish?
2 lanes.
please let me finish. How is it that they came back to us and asked us for this money? Is that what happened? They said, hey, if there's an overage, and how many times have they done this with other townships and cities? Have we ever paid this kind of money to have this kind of project done in a business district for our township?
Yes.
Where?
Short Road and Dover Road.
And what was the overage on that one?
I don't know.
Well,
That's a whole different issue.
exactly.
That's coming from our car.
To ask us to pay over $500,000 for this road without getting any buy-in from the other businesses is a hard pill to swallow. But we're supposed to vote on this and go into our regular meeting in a matter of 40 seconds.
Actually, it sounds like we're going to remove it from the agenda. We have a 3-3 split as far as I can see.
I'm not saying
Well, I'm hearing that.
no now, right this second. I'm just saying that we need to look, and I agree with trustee Boynton. We need more conversation on this.
Okay, so I'm gonna remove it from the agenda then, as for a revised agenda for the today, and to remove that.
And that, let's all be clear that this is gonna push this project out according to Wayne County until fall. Correct?
No, and it pushes it out until next year.
Until next year.
Yeah, and that's if you agree. If you don't agree, then it just goes back to a 2-lane road whenever they get to it.
Why the time frame here? Why is it?
Because,
now just
because they
here,
have to
just
set their,
nobody told
they have to
us?
set their priority list, and they have to kick somebody off the priority list to put you back on.
Have they looked at the shape of this road?
They know it, it's been on Channel 7.
So-
I think that's why they're
We
finally
have to be
rolling over and
strong
making this
armed.
offer.
You know, I feel like, I'm being strong armed here by, Wayne County wanting this. So-
Wayne County does not want to do this road. They do not want, they want you to vote no. They don't want to have anything to do with it, because you're going to force them to kick somebody off of a priority list that's already on the priority list. Plus, you want a 3-lane road for $500,000? That's not a deal to them.
Priority change. It's raggedy today, it's gonna still be raggedy next year.
Because they think, because the next time, well, all
Move to the board.
right, so we're going to remove it. All right? Yeah, all right.
Just to make a comment, I think the other thing is the third party out here is Ashley Capital. Because they are wanting to use Haggerty Road, they're talking about putting in another. And, well, but supposedly that's their limit, and they're willing to pay that so we can get the 5 lanes if we're willing to chip in what we think. And if we don't, they won't. It's a major highway out. There's Belleville Road and Haggerty Roads are the main things to get us out of the township. So I think it's important that we take a real close look at this, because I don't think we'll ever get it in the near future, 3 lanes. That'll make it easier for everybody. It'll make it easier for a few residents that are there. And I just think it's something we really need to think about before we say no, because even if it pushes out to 26 or 27, you're looking at 2 lanes, and it's a road now that I hate to think about what it'll look like in that course of the time.
Well, they're gonna have to take some action on monitoring that. It's just dangerous. And to say, well, we're not doing anything. We're gonna kick this
They
whole
already
project
did
out
repair.
without doing any
They already sent the
repairs.
repair crews too, and you can see how well a job they did, which is not very well. I'm not giving up on this. I've been working on this for 2 years.
Yeah.
No matter what you vote today, I'm still gonna try and get it done. I don't know how that's gonna happen, but this was an offer that you needed to hear and say yes or no to. Okay,
All right, we need to
All right.
start our board meeting.
all right, the workshop is closed.
Yeah.
I'm
Public
call-
comment.
This meeting is called to order at 6:01. Please rise for the
Public
pledge of
comment.
allegiance.